On today's episode of The Glue Guys, I'm going to ask Brian 6 burning questions about the NBA's hottest team, your Brooklyn Nets.
Fired up. Get right into it.
Welcome back to The Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say hello, Brian.
Hello.
Check us out on Twitter at BK Glue Guys, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself behind the paywall at theathletic.com/glue guys. That's under the New York Times. Brian.
Michael. We're
The Nets are back.
Yes, we're streaking.
NBA.
We're officially streaking, Mike.
NBA.
It's a real
Take
streak.
that, NBA. You guys try to bring us down with your conspiracy theories. This team will not bend.
No, won't break.
Well, they did bend, but they won't break.
They won't break. We're on a heck of a streak, Mike.
We are the preeminent podcasters of the NBA's hottest team, the Brooklyn Nets. This weekend, this weekend, I got a lot of joy on this. I don't know if anyone else did. The Boston Celtics lost 2 games to the Magic. The Magic played 2 games in Boston, a Friday and a Sunday. The Magic beat them in both of those games.
Tough to figure out those Orlando Magic. How do we figure them out all the time? I don't get it.
They're a tough team.
That's a tough, scrappy squad.
They're rolling out a lineup of Markelle Fultz and then 4 7-footers essentially, and they just embarrass Boston. While your Brooklyn Nets, Brian, are firmly within the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. They in fact are beginning to distance themselves from the Philadelphia 76ers. They have 3 wins over the Sixers, who are the 5th seed. The Knicks are actually doing okay.
Yeah. Are they real or are they fugazi? I can't tell.
Well, like I saw people saying something like Julius Randle's up for the trade deadline or something, and all this. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Knicks will stay where they are, but we're a Nets podcast, and
Screw
the Nets
them.
are HOT.
Double T. I'm throwing 2 T's on there.
Double T-I-E. They're hotties. They're just a bunch of hotties.
The game against Detroit was a really good. It was an important. It was an important one because it was like a disgusting game, right? Like, and then we had to have some heroics from our hero players to get us out of it. But like, those are the kind of games where
Kyrie is the hero that you have but you don't want, right?
No, I mean we spoke about this in our lengthy pre-production meeting. But my favorite part of the persecution complex of the Kyrie extended universe. His stands, as we call them, is when they come in your mentions, like you're like, hey, the Nets are good and Kyrie's good or whatever, and I'll be like, oh, you like Kyrie now? Like, you didn't like him when he was posting anti-Semitic documentaries, but now all of a sudden you like him when he's playing basketball at a high level. Like what? Explain that to me.
You assholes.
That's basically our policy with Kyrie.
Yeah. If he's playing great, we'll like it would be rude to not praise him.
Yeah,
if he's playing fantastic.
I like Kyrie Irving when he plays basketball at a high level and we win games. That's easy for me to say, guys. If that's the don't rake me over the coals with that one, because I'll go with you.
Well, let me ask you this. So I have 6 burning questions for you about the NBA's hottest team, the Brooklyn Nets. One of them is Kyrie definitely on this team throughout the entire season? And I will give context, right? Obviously, in the offseason when the Nets and him were haggling over a contract, and I heard a pretty key data point about that was from Brian Windhorst was on Ryan Russilla's pod, and they were talking about Kyrie, and Windhorst and Russilla were both like, the Nets offered him a contract. The thing that they put in there was a games played clause. Like, they were saying, Kyrie, you need to play these amount of games. It was a legit moneyed contract. And Kyrie was just, no, I will not accept that.
Yeah.
So to kind of clear up a little bit of the confusion over whether the Nets even offered him a real deal or not. So Kyrie has the offseason odyssey. He has the anti-Semitic documentary that he promoted on Twitter and Instagram. And then the whole controversy that followed after that, the suspension for, I think, 9 games. Then he comes back. And I will say this, in December, here's his statistics. Ever since he kind of settled in, 29 points per game, 5 assists, 6 rebounds.
Gorgeous.
And game winner against Toronto. But there was still this idea that if the Nets could flip Kyrie for something real, not Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks, because Russ on this team would just be disgusting.
Yeah.
As nicely as Russ is playing, him and Ben Simmons together would just, we all know, without even thinking about it, we can see that in our brains. You know, James Cameron director of Avatar 2: Way of Water.
And writer of True Lies and and Point
Kind
Break.
of incredible. Just real quick, Brian. So Brian, people don't know, Brian is a film genius.
A cinephile, really.
A cinephile.
Yeah.
And we were having a conversation. I watched True Lies, the James Cameron film, for the first time. And I have to ask you which line that you...
I dare even say it on the podcast.
Is
but
it the butt of a 10-year-old boy?
It's the butt of a 10-year-old. Yeah.
So that's not in the script, by the way.
Oh, really? That
I
he
looked
had
up
to like
the-
whisper that in his ear, like, Bill, say this.
Or Bill Paxton.
You can't
Improv
you
that.
cannot ad lib a line that incendiary in front of all those people.
Anyone who's watched True Lies recently, which is probably no one.
Yeah.
True Lies is an Arnold Schwarzenegger, James Cameron movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger is this spy married to
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, and Bill Paxton is trying to take Jamie Lee Curtis away as a sexual partner. And he says, the women I am with have the buttocks of a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, and in like a good way. He says that in a good way, right? Which is
Very
just
odd.
a very weird line. And then we were talking about it on the phone, and then there's the seminal, no pun intended, line in Point Break in the beginning where he says "young, dumb, and full of." Fill in the
Semen.
blank, yeah, and I was like, those are two of the like weirdest lines in film, and like, where did they come from? We did the research, went back into it, looked at the wiki for Point Break, find that James Cameron was a consultant for writing the script of Point Break, and so
Because his wife, Catherine Bigelow,
right,
or
then
whatever they were at that point,
and
directed
just
Point Break.
indirectly had pieced together that James Cameron is behind both of the most insane lines in film history.
Completely insane.
Anyways.
And yet I'm going to go see Avatar: Way of Water 2 tonight, and I am thrilled.
Keep an ear out.
I'm going
Mike.
to keep an ear out for 10-year-old boy butt jokes, which is just completely. But the funny thing is, Bill Paxton has like 20 things within that scene that are things that are insane.
Insane.
Anyways, speaking of insane, Kyrie.
Yeah.
So there's this
Playing
idea that
insane.
Kyrie, still could be had, right? Or maybe not recently, but maybe just a couple of weeks ago. The Nets don't want anything to do with Kyrie. They're never going to bring him back on a new contract next season. And I'm not even talking about next season. Do you think what has happened? Because this team is 10-11 over the past 11 games. They are on a 6-game winning streak, which is fantastic. They are winning games in the clutch with Kyrie being one of the central figures, if not at times the central figure. I don't want to say is this solved. Kyrie, of course, could do something completely ridiculous and off the court and just ruin it all. Do you think it's contained? Do you think that this is the squad and that Kyrie is a pillar on this team going forward just this year?
I think he's already cemented the trade deadline situation. I still don't think I think the market is tricky still, and there's not other sort of star player kind of. It's just a tough thing to like trade Kyrie for anybody. So it's market-wise, it's difficult, and then also just he's playing so well right now that it's going to be diminishing returns anyways. And then I think you got to see if there's a deep playoff run in this squad, Mike. I think you got it. You got to see it. You got to see it.
This team, as an ethical backbone as they've had in certain circumstances, whether it's a vaccine or an anti-Semitic film, they've also completely talk about bend don't break. They've broken their back in half for Kyrie multiple times.
Yeah,
and I think with the current play, because I have trades, and I don't know if I really want to dive down the trade because the team is playing so well that I don't want to like do this full trade. Oh, here's all the fake things that they could do.
Yeah,
but just simply, there's a pretty easy Kelly Olynyk and Mike Conley trade for Kyrie. And I was advocating quite loudly for Mike Conley for Kyrie because I thought Kyrie was so kind of destructive to a team philosophy that you could never win with him. And I think I have to hold on to that viewpoint. But he's been playing incredible.
Yeah.
And this is the Kyrie experience where you think one thing, like he may think about something, the world is flat. And then suddenly I turn around and he's playing just like electric basketball defining, ball handling, insane out of the wild. Like he has hit a level this month recently. I think he's shooting like 52% as well from the field within the month of December. it's hard to then be like, well, but because he's kind of a flaky guy,
Yeah.
they should trade him for Mike Connolly and
Well,
Kelly Olynyk.
where you
By the
really
way, I
lose
like
me
Kelly
is,
Olynyk.
why do you like it? Oh, Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah,
I don't
think
even.
he fits.
I just don't like to look at him again.
Yeah, I hate. He looks like a goat. Okay, he looks just.
This is. We shouldn't do this. This is really mean, but it is. I also don't like that
he's chosen to look like a goat.
That's true.
He's-
There is some decision making going on there. It's not
You should
quite
get like a fade and take away the.
It's not
the
quite
facial
Chris
hair.
Kaman, but
But can I do a quick? Because he's a 3-point shooting. He's shooting 42% from three. He's not a great rebounder, but he's a semi-ish big body center who could play with Ben Simmons. That's what excites me.
plus
about
he's a true Wookiee in that he tears people's arms right out of their sockets.
Yes,
That's
the Nets need someone who will injure Giannis, and Kelly Olynyk
that's
will
the guy.
definitely
That's
injure
1000%
Giannis.
the guy.
Yeah,
I'm actually. That's a great point. I want to be every time I feel like we play these like really like I was watching the Toronto game, incredibly handsy defense the entire time. We seem to always be on the receiving end of just like this new standard of like you can just like if Kevin Durant's not touching the ball, you can face guard him with like basically in a chokehold. Like you can deny him the ball any which way you want. And so I'm excited to be. I want some players where we can be on the other side of that. Like we have good defenders. Don't get me wrong. Claxton advocating for himself to be Defensive Player of the Year, which you love to see him putting that out into the world. But this is different than good defense. This is injurious, dangerous defense that people are scared of. We need a little of that.
yeah, and Royce O'Neal will do that a little bit, and he's the guy on this team that will do that. Markieff Morris will obviously do it, but he doesn't play enough to really.
I don't think that's his
assert
life
himself in
anymore.
that way.
He seems really chill these days. He's just not about that.
Keith?
He's getting old.
Yeah,
It's hard to keep
and
that up.
he's got a load.
He
a
does.
load of a 10-year-old's butt.
Yeah, that's
he's
more.
got
That's,
he's got a butt the size of a 10-year-old.
yeah, truly.
But I mean, it's so like I so respect Giannis and the Bucks and all that stuff.
What? Don't
But
do that.
they are vicious.
Don't do that genuflecting. Giannis,
They
I'm
are
tired of that.
vicious, and I hate his brother.
Oh,
Which one of his
who
is
cares?
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so you think Kyrie is like locked in, right? I think he's locked in unless there's something completely, of course.
I think that for a
Crazy
couple of
happens.
reasons, it's just he's untradeable right now, and I don't think there's a real, particularly a lot of motivation to even test that market.
Yeah, I wonder because I've been thinking about the Mavericks and they're sort of disappointing at times. I continue to think the Mavericks are the team that would make a Kyrie trade.
Well, they're on the
some
Kemba
level.
Walker ride right now on that Ferris wheel.
Yeah,
so
which is like the one good game out of the
Yeah.
entire month, but it's like a really good
it's a
game.
really good game.
Okay, so my one burning question, I think we both come on to this, is that Kyrie is locked in. He is part of this team, and he is one of the leaders on the floor, and maybe a leader off of it. From what we're told, he's a great guy in person. And so we answer that burning question. Coming back, I have a bunch more for
Oh.
you, Brian.
Exciting.
And we're back, Brian.
Yeah.
You brought up Nic Claxton, Player of the Year. My second burning question to you is Claxton untouchable in a trade? Because I bring this up to think about this. If you look at the names who may be available in terms of centers, Nikola Vucevic, Olynyk, Pirtle, Nerlens Noel, Plumlee. Of course, Vucevic is the one name that is the starriest of those names. The rest of them are all backups. I mean, not Jakob is a starter, but he's not viewed as sort of like an elite tier of center, where Vucevic at one point was, the NBA's sixth best center
Yeah.
and a hub of offense for a playoff team for many years like the Magic. Nic Claxton is making $8.5 million this year and $8.5 million next year. A steal of a contract. He himself, as you said, has advocated to be Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Real quick, how do you feel about that?
Marketing. You get it. People aren't going to be thinking about it unless you start doing a little, working the social media. Get out there. Get the message out there.
Right. What is it? The greasy wheel or the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
You got it. Exactly.
Absolutely. Get that grease. He's second in the NBA in blocks. My real question to you, not only is he untouchable, is his place affirmed on this team? Meaning, do we think he is reliable enough that like he is the starting center and any center move made on this team is to get like a true backup as opposed to having like Ben Simmons be a center for times, because I do think Claxton is played so well and fairly consistently this entire year that I feel safe in his beautiful, beautiful arms.
Yeah.
I feel safe.
I think there's I agree. I think he's pretty untouchable.
Oh my god.
What?
You're about to
No. I'm saying I think he's
Nic Claxton.
No, I'm not.
You
0%. I
do
hate
that.
that you're doing this because I'm actually literally not doing it. I was just about to say I think he's untouchable.
Okay.
I also think like historically
As untouchable as a 10-year-old boy's butt.
all right.
Sorry.
now
It's in a movie. I didn't do it.
So
Literally in a film.
and I'm also thinking about like the historical like trend of trading away Jared Allen and just like trading away centers in general. But then there's also like the inverse of that, which is like then we tend to like replace them with that like 20th to the 30th pick. So there is a little bit of there's a reason why why is it that we keep bringing up these guys and then having to be in this uncomfortable position of like, are we, can we afford them going forward, whatever. That's not really the case right now for Nick, but it will be. So in terms of like actually like replacing him with another starting level center, I don't need that. That's not what my body needs. I do agree with the thought process of people who want maybe a backup center. Although we've been so good right now with just our current weird, mix and match situation. It's becoming less and less of a high priority. And I get like to your point from last week, the Jakob Poeltl, Jakob, that's like more in alignment with I think like our direct needs are. But I mean, just in terms of like also increasing comfortability, just like the ceiling still feels like there's limits yet to the ceiling. I still feel like there's growth on a weekly basis from Nic Claxton, and you want to see that through.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging about 12 points per game. Again, 2.5 blocks, second in the NBA, 9 rebounds. So it's not even that he's like, I know he does get pushed out at times, but I think he's been better this year he muscled up.
Yeah.
He absolutely beefed up, and it has had a real impact.
Well, the other thing is like the timing got better, like just, experience points. His XP has been increasing like now that he's actually, stayed out of the inflatable club, doesn't have mono, so on and so forth.
That's a deep cut. If
That's a
anyone
deep cut.
Remember that joke.
That's
I
a deep
appreciate
cut
all
meme.
of you.
Shout out to that person. But yeah, so I think that it's because of he's gotten the increased reps with just a lot more consistency, and like that affects the stat line. You're in the position that you need to be. It's not longer like he used to like pogo stick and try to out athleticism people for rebounds. And I always think about this as like with like good rebounding guards, right? Like how did like Jason Kidd, or like how's Russell Westbrook like a good rebounder? It's primarily positioning.
Well, it's primarily Steven Adams blocking.
Sure.
Blocking all defenders from getting the ball.
Who's what? Kmart's doing the blockouts for Jason Kidd. I mean, we're going back in the annals of history here, but
well, I was a Wizards fan then, so
yeah, you're watching Gilbert Arenas snatch up rebounds.
I've been trying to think about. We talk about this a lot. Like, where's Claxton on the center tier? I mean, there's the Embiid, Jokic, whatever, right? There's a Domantas Sabonis tier where he's kind of by himself because he's not that great defensively, but he is a tremendous hub of offense for the Kings. Claxton's just in that like the Clint Capella range of I'm reliant on a guard or someone in a pick and roll situation getting the ball and letting me dunk it, but I am very reliable dunking a basketball. I think he has the highest, field goal percentage in the NBA or something like that, which is nothing to scoff at.
No.
Do not, Brian. No scoff. I don't want you scoffing.
Pre-scuff.
Pre-scoff. He's been playing great, and defensively, his versatility. Like we saw it. What was it? The Detroit game where he blocked that final shot, where Detroit shot, and like that is an unusual move for a center to be that mobile and that athletic. The thing that interests me, which dovetails into my third burning question for you. I think the center question is really over whether Ben Simmons is going to be good enough consistently, because he operates at this team backup 5 at times, whether it's him or Markieff. I mean, Markieff gets some minutes, but where are you emotionally with Ben Simmons? Are you? Because I've been trying to figure out how I feel. There's obviously he's been improving, and then he got hurt, and then he came back, and there's been some moments.
Yeah,
but you still kind of look at that stat sheet, and you're like, oh, he scored 6 points.
Yeah.
And he's only shooting the ball within 4 feet of the rim.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I've also, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, but I've like keyed into him less. Like, it's just like less of a storyline of like how good is Ben Simmons, which is a good thing. I mean, if he stays at this level, I mean, as long as the W's keep happening, I'm okay with any version of Ben Simmons. But as soon as you take 3 L's in a row or something at some point, all right, then the storylines reemerge anew, and we start like playing blame game, and that stat line is going to be an easy thing for people to point to, be like, hey, where's the production?
Yeah. This win streak or 10 out of 11 is the best thing for Ben Simmons to just kind of like, he just needed a fly under the radar for a 2-month period of time to improve. I do want to see what, like when they sat everyone against the Pacers, I want to see more of like another game where Kyrie and KD sit, and just what is a full Ben Simmons, everything is kind of on you to run an offense, what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if that's like the most helpful thing for this team, because he just, as much as my heart, I want the best for Ben. I just want him to be happy and contented on the court.
What a philanthropic sentiment.
If I'm being my cold-blooded capitalist, though, and I'm looking to trim fat because that recession's coming, Ben scoring 6 points a game does impact the team overall, because it forces Kyrie and KD to be ultra efficient 30-point per game scorers by themselves, by the amount of minutes that Ben plays. So I do think when we tie in the center question, it's like, if Ben Simmons can get to a point where he's doing the 12 points per game, even that difference, or 14, whatever number we want to say, that is going to help your Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if he'll get there.
The other part of it is that, like, we're basically averaging 60 points this month between Kyrie and KD. Like, offense it's pretty much taken care of. Like, we've got a lot of that, which is partly why the Ben Simmons fit seems to be working. It's just like, how much, like, is it a problem that you just get your 6 points on like whatever 70% shooting? Like, if that, I mean, that's not his number presently, but like, let's get that up there, like, get him to Nic Claxton numbers. Then like, it's just not a huge need. I mean, again, that changes like overnight if Kyrie has to miss games or Durant has to miss games. But while we keep winning, while it's the current paradigm, it's not that big of a problem right now.
Well, and that's the other thing I kind of wanted to bring up, because we are going to obsess over trades. You're always going to think about how you can improve the team, but think about the Nets rotation right now: Kyrie, KD, Claxton, Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons, Yuta Watanabe, T.J. Warren, Markieff Morris gets minutes, Cam Thomas gets minutes, Edmund Sumner gets minutes. It's a lot of dudes, and this team is very deep when everyone's healthy. Yeah, I mean, the fact that T.J. Warren, who I've been very impressed by. In the limit, I mean, coming back having not played for 2 years, pretty sharp. The fact
I like watching him play. He's got a weird, we talked about it, but it's a super weird game. It's pretty enjoyable, and the shot itself has like no arc to it. It's just a real dart,
Yeah, it's such confidence.
Yeah,
ultimately, like he knows what he's going to do. The fact that Jock Vaughn, if he starts, let's say you start KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Royce O'Neal, and Joe Harris, or Claxton instead of Joe Harris. Off the bench, you could bring in Curry, Joe Harris, Yuta, T.J. Warren. That's just a lot of veteran scoring reliability. It does go back into the trade discussion of, well, okay, then is Seth expendable? Is Joe Harris expendable? Is the right deal going to come along? I don't know, but this team, Bri. The thing I will say, because I didn't really have a burning question for you.
Okay.
I didn't. Well, in terms of this question I'm about to ask,
just self-immolate. Do it yourself.
What a great word!
You like that?
I love it. Yeah. I will self-immolate this. Does this team, after this recent streak, are championship expectations appropriate? Reinserting those championship, not expectations, I guess, but more of like possibility.
It's a dangerous game, Mike. This game
Brian,
you're playing. This game,
immolate
this game you play.
Self-combust that engine and blow it up inside your heart. Because I will say, I thought there was no way this team could win a championship with what was happening with Kyrie and how Ben was just completely unreliable. There was the whole story from, I forget, it was Amick or Sham Sharania. I guess it was Sam, because we had Sam Amick on the show, friend of the show, Sam Amick, talking about how the Nets were upset with Ben Simmons, how it was
They had to have
mysterious.
a team meeting or something about him.
Yeah, and
Not
Markieff
not what you
Morris
wanna
spoke
hear.
up,
Yeah.
and then Markieff Morris on Twitter said, "Who are these damn sources?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it's probably Jacques Vaughn or someone
Yeah.
important. But championship expectations, Brian. Are you opening up your heart to that possibility?
The one thing that I'll take issue with is your word expectations, because I have no expectations, and I'm not going to fall for that trap again. Okay, we've been down this road. I am, totally namaste on expectations. I'm just in the moment. I'm living in the moment, listening to my heartbeat, feeling the blood in my veins. I'm just present right now. Does that mean, like, where if I was a betting man, where do I put it? Where do I put my money?
Would you put any money on the Nets? Like, if the odds, whatever the odds are, they're plus 800 or something to win the champion, or whatever it is. Like, is there a road to a championship?
Here's what
Is that even on the Google Maps, or is it saying, "Hey, there's roads blocked, you can't get there"?
Yeah, and because we've been hurt before in the past, I still feel like we need to see
Very deeply.
We need to see some fat W's over the best of the best out there. Okay, we still need to see that.
I think that's a very fair approach.
Not to disparage the winning streak that we've been on. I think it's been great, and like I said, winning disgusting, gutsy, like hungover games in Detroit. That's championship level kind of stuff. Like falling out of bed, winning games that you shouldn't have been in the first place. That's good stuff. That's real championship caliber stuff. But look, our games against the Celtics still just suck. Like, they've been unconvincing to this point. Not to say that that's going to be the standard from here on, but those types of things I need to see.
It definitely feels like this team. You talk about hangover. The Sunday hangover
Dude,
from the Saturday night is a real thing.
I was super hungover for Sunday. Like, I was gonna stream the game, and I got hard kombucha. Drink, like,
what's that?
It's exactly what
Liquor?
it sounds like. It's like it's beer basically. That's born out of a kombucha. I don't know why I did this. This was a terrible idea. I've never been so. Just the entire day.
What's the alcohol content? Is it like a beer? Or
it's like a 7%er.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not nothing to scoff. Don't scoff, Mike.
I am scoffing at the entire concept that you're drinking alcoholic kombucha.
I know, it's really bad. It's too on brand.
The Nets, I think, were drinking that. I mean, the Pistons game, they were down by 19. We remember back to that Lakers game when they were in LA for the back-to-back in LA against Clippers-Lakers, and they got blown out. And Jacques Vaughn says, and then they lost the next game against the Kings, which was a Tuesday, and he's like, our bodies and souls are still in Los Angeles or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You ask to see this team win some games. Before we get back to the burning questions, of course we know the schedule coming up. Play Wednesday at home against the Warriors, the Stephless Warriors. So still, though, it's a quality team. And then a Friday night game against the Bucks at home, and then they go to Cleveland on the Monday, the day after Christmas, and they play the Cleveland Cavaliers, a very competitive team. And down the road, it's like Pelicans and Heat, and some fun teams. Boston Celtics, I'm seeing on the schedule. We're going to find out. And it would be a disappointment out of those three games: Warriors, Bucks, Cavs. If they don't win one, then everything feels like, okay, everything was kind of a facade.
Yeah.
If they win one, then you're like,
yeah.
If they win two, the difference between 1 and 2 wins is
big.
like significant.
Yeah.
I think
so.
And the Warriors game should be the easiest of them all. But still the Warriors and the Bucks. God, if they could beat the Bucks, like if they go 1 and 2, but they beat the Bucks, I will.
The hype
feel,
train is still real.
Yeah, I'm going to be.
Yeah.
On Christmas Eve, I'm going to be enjoying some eggnog.
Okay.
Some victory eggnog.
I heard out.
Burning question for you. Who do you trust most on the floor of these role players? Joe Harris, Royce O'Neal, Yuta Watanabe, Seth Curry, and I threw TJ Warren in here. I know it's a little it's just a little early, but I'm throwing TJ in there for now. I'll let you pick two of those guys.
Wow.
So Joe, Royce, Yuta, Seth, and TJ Warren, which is essentially the bench starting wing
Yeah.
role playing crowd.
This is interesting because like there's been a conversation on the Discord. Shout out to the Discord.gg/glue guys.
But don't tweet about it.
Don't
Did you see the whole like Twitter policy where you can't promote other
really?
sites like Mastodon?
Oh my
and
gosh.
Actually, Discord is left off the list. Like you
Oh.
can promote
Okay.
anything on Discord. Yeah.
There's kind of a conversation, or has been a time, being
What?
chopping
Nic
up.
Claxton Hampson.
No,
Is he
that
handsome?
happens a lot. That happens every day. We should make a whole channel for that. But whether Royce O'Neal is really actually good at defense, or is it just a optics thing? And
You Royce O'Neal haters.
yeah, I know it's an interesting.
He's authentically good at defense.
And
He's
so
not
this is-
great.
Yeah,
He's good.
and so this is why, like for me, with Joe Harris and Seth Curry, like when they're off, it's a big net loss, right, on both sides of the ball. Whereas Royce at least can default back into being a useful, we'll just call it useful defender, maybe more so than
Creator
Joe
a little
Harris.
bit. He's still an assist guy.
For me, I'm gonna say it's Royce, and I gotta tell you, Yuta gets he's been the most consistently. I mean, he had like one game with it was like 2 points, but it wasn't like he was like obviously bad or whatever. He's never been like conspicuously not trying as hard. It's just like is a great role player to have because he's he only does things that make you like it's still unexpected every time he shoots the three and it goes in. And even though that's like still continues to happen at an improbable rate, it's just it's just been magical so far. And until it stops being magical, he's getting all of my minutes.
We've talked about this so many times before. I'm really protecting my heart against.
I know the
Yuta,
fallout of
'cause
Yuta.
I can't believe because it can't be possible that this guy, because he is so fun, so active. What was it? Jaden Ivey dunked all over his face.
Yeah, didn't even care. Didn't bat a lash.
I think Yuta was also like the guy who got posterized by someone last year, and it was like the #1 dunk of the year.
Anthony Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah. But to me, that's actually a credit. It's how like Jared Allen used to get dunked on all the time. It's because he's actually trying to stop the dunks.
Yeah, you want to play rim protection with the big dogs, you're gonna get dunked on here and there. That's
Yeah, there's so many guys who just get out of the like. Ultimately, there's times when Kevin Durant just vacates. I don't mean to take a shot at KD.
Whoa.
I mean he also
where'd that come from? That was out of left field.
delete that.
Jeez.
Delete it. No, but guys get they make a business decision and they get out of the way. God, I do think there's like a pretty high % chance that like Yuta falls off the face of the earth.
That's
with
classic
his shooting.
Smelts. That's a classic
I
Smelts.
know, I know. I
Boomerang
should
of
say
pessimism and anxiety. That's your anxiety disorder, like talking.
He does make the right play a lot, and he's the least heat checky of any of these guys.
Yeah.
And that's why his 3-point percentage is so high, because he only takes it when he's wide open. I mean, he actually does. There's a few times he'll do the heat check
He's
three
been a
after
little heat checky. Yeah.
but he's not like you talk about Seth and Joe.
Yeah.
They do have to take their threes, and if they're 1 for 7, that sucks. I wonder though if TJ Warren does become a guy I really end up trusting by the end of the year, because he is very efficient as a scorer, and that's a great thing to have on your bench if you actually have an efficient microwave,
Yeah.
heat check dude. Seth Curry used to be the guy I trust the most, even more than Joe, and he's just kind of not been that consistent this year.
I will say though, the difference between TJ and Yuta for me is that like and maybe this will change, and maybe this is him just kind of coming back and playing at a high level in a lot of minutes, but like TJ does get roasted by smaller guards in a way that Yuta just kind of like doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. For those reasons, that's my self-immolation for you, Mike.
Yeah, I think if I'm ranking them, I don't know. I think I would still put Joe and Royce, because Joe still does enough other kind of stuff that I like it, and I do like his. I feel like Joe's been through many more battles than Yuta. I not feel like it. I know he has.
Mm-hmm.
And while I love Yuta, I'm guarding my heart.
And maybe that's right, because I'm kind of prioritizing consistency in my argument, and if I was going to take that off the table, I might go Seth Curry, just because, like, I mean, we talked about this before, but I'm like, what was the last time you had a 29-point game out of Joe Harris? It feels like it's been years.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a great problem to have. That we have that there's 5 guys that you can put around the two stars, Simmons and Claxton, that all could do something. I wish one of them was more of a straight up point guard, bro. Like we talk about Malcolm Brogdon, it's just like if the Nets had a Brogdon type, it'd be that would really I feel like fill a big gap on this team. Last question for you, burning question,
please.
Kind of talked about this before.
Okay.
Do the Nets need to make a trade? Do they need to? Now this goes into like, so there could, sure, do they need a backup center? I think they do need a more legit option off the bench, but you can maybe get that guy in the buyout market. We've seen dudes like that become available. Whether it's like a Nerlens Noel.
How did Dallas just stumble into Kemba Walker situation? I mean, like, again, I don't want to be on that ride, and I'm not advocating for that, but
no one, because his knee is like, even the president, Nico Harrison, who runs the Mavericks, came out and was like, after they signed him, like, we don't really know what we're going to get because his knee is his knee. It's basically, it's like no one has any faith that his knee is going to be good.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, need? No, I'm going to say that full-throated. Don't need to make a trade. Are there ways to improve on the fringes? Probably, but it's not a capital N need for me right now.
I would be interested to know what like a package of Joe Harris or Seth Curry and some stuff gets you. Like I would like to know that market. If you hear their names in the trade market, I would do my due diligence as Sean Marks should, as he probably does, which is like, what does this stuff get me?
Yeah.
What does Cam Thomas get me? Nothing.
The other thing too is like, I'm wondering if there's any other, like, if there's a market for a Cam Thomas style package. I know that this is now a meme on the show of us like doing this. And by the way, when we talk about trades, it's not because like we're putting on our cynical businessman type hats, right? We got to play disaffected, GM
Youth?
here. Yeah.
Disaffected
Degeneration X. And so it's not because we, I'm interested in the Cam Thomas project, but I know like if you're a like bad team right now, and Cam Thomas could get a lot of minutes, I bet Cam Thomas wants that situation right now more than that situation.
I mean, I know he definitely savors the fact that he plays with Kevin Durant and Kyrie.
Yeah.
But Cam Thomas
he could go to Houston and start
longingly at what happens with a Kevin Porter Jr. in Houston saying, I could do that. Yeah. I could put up 20 a night if I was given the chance to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do wonder, there's just not like, so if you go through Hoops Hype and you look at like all the teams and the rosters and who may be selling, there's just not that many teams that are selling because of the expansion of the playoffs with the 10 teams in each conference who are getting into the play-in / the playoffs. The fact that Indiana is competitive and not a tanking team. The Wizards don't know if they're a tanking team. I think they should be.
Yeah, I think
the Wizards should tank immediately.
Kyle Kuzma is that they're a tanking team. Tell you what.
And so Kuzma is the name who is very intriguing. And I will say, if to kind of drop a bomb at the end of the episode, if you are the Nets and you are very excited about this team and you feel like if we could make one pretty big move, because there's a gap between KD, Kyrie are on a tier in the NBA. Claxton is his own thing because he's like a specific role. He's the pick and roll center, defensive bro. But then there's like a wide tier between KD, Kyrie, and like the rest of the roster. There's no sort of third guy.
I like that you're taking Ben Simmons right out of the conversation.
So if you're the Nets, part of what you're thinking is like, okay, we know we only have Kyrie for one more year. I don't know if we're going to resign him if we even want to. Do you say, what can Ben Simmons get us? Mm-hmm. What can a package of Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas, whatever, Ben Simmons and Seth Curry, whatever it is, what can that get us? Because if you get a better third guy who's way more reliable, who is older, who obviously wouldn't have as much of an upside as Ben Simmons, but you're getting like 18 a game from that guy, 7 rebounds, whatever, like a Tobias Harris type.
Sell me this on Washington's side of the argument. Like, why do they want Ben Simmons for Kyle Kuzma?
Because you could. So if you're the Wizards, you take Simmons and think the upside play. Bradley Beal's been hurt with a hamstring injury that seems like it's just It's a classic James Harden hamstring.
Classic hammy.
So
Tricky.
do you say Kuzma we know is going to cost us the max contract potentially?
Yeah.
Like Kuzma's veering towards max money. He may not get that. I think he's better than John Collins, right? Like in general.
Oh,
I think Kuzma's become a better player, and he gets $20 to $25 million a year, whatever John Collins gets. I mean, Kuzma's averaging 21 points, nearly 8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, not 46% from the field on 18 shots. I mean, that's pretty solid. He's a guy who gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kuzma is the perfect sort of third star to be a part of a team like this. He would provide a little more size,
He's your
reliability.
Antoine Jameson, Mike.
He's very much in that phyla.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, does Ben Simmons get you that? I mean, I think the Wizards suck, and they should be tanking, and Ben Simmons is a great vehicle to tank.
Yeah, he doesn't really help your win column that much, just on his own.
It just goes,
Not that they have a problem with that with Kuzma. I think they're on like a 10-game losing streak or something.
Yeah, they've lost they're like 1-11 in the past 12 games. But I think they almost beat the Lakers. I forget. I don't know if they won the game last night. I just want to look at who. Give me one. Indulge me for a second.
Sure.
I'm going to look at Kyle Kuzma's contract just to make sure I'm 100% up to date because I think he's one more year. Oh, he's a player option for $13 million next year, meaning he's going to decline that and go into free agency. He's essentially an expiring contract. So if you're the Wizards, you're thinking, well, we're paying Kristaps 36 next year on a player option, which Kristaps will probably pick up. We're paying Beal the most money of any player in the NBA right now, I think. Him and Dame Lillard, I think, make the top two. So if your team sucks, you say, well, why don't we get Ben Simmons? We package Kuzma and Will Barton for Ben Simmons. The Nets send Ben and Cam Thomas or whatever, and we tank this year. We already have Beal locked into a contract anyways, and you try to go for Wembanyama and whatever. Would you want Kyle Kuzma?
What about Monty Morris?
Yeah, available too. I'll give you him. You can have Kuzma and Monty Morris. That would be very nice.
I kind of like that. Hey, I think we got a deal.
I feel like the Wizard fan. I'm a big Wizards fan. So
Yeah.
oh, no, we're never gonna do it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if the Wizards do it.
Expect to see us get dragged on Twitter for these takes, Mike, from Wiz Nation.
If I'm ranking the big moves that the Nets could make, just to finish up here, it is the secret weapon of saying we have Ben Simmons. He's not that good, but he's showing signs of improvement. He's on a long-term contract. He's young. Do you throw him into the mix to get like a B-level player, knowing that you're possibly giving up a guy who, if he figures it out, goes back to being potential all-NBA caliber star? But that's an increasingly unlikely scenario.
Yeah, as time goes on,
as time goes on,
it is. I mean,
I realize
we're going to have to start making those bets, Mike. Now's the time to be thinking about it. If nothing else, I'm glad that we had the conversation.
I think it's a thought to be had, and a discussion to be made amongst all the Credit Suisse bros and Magneto right there. Thank you for listening. At BK Glue Guys on Twitter, netsdaily.com, The Athletic. Get yourself by the paywall at theathletic.com/glue guys, discord.gg/glue guys, and find us on Real World at Ryan, what's your address?
Yeah. Real good stuff, Mike. See you guys. See everybody.
The Nets are back.